The hour of convening having arrived, all members of this House will please report to their assigned seats. All members will report to their assigned seats. The clerk will ring the bell. Good morning. All members will please take their seats. We are going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Came through the ante room a minute ago and I could see blue skies and sunshine after a rainy night in Georgia. Hope everyone's well. Before we begin, I want to remind you that testing for COVID is going on today until 11 a.m. downstairs, as it does every Thursday. If you have not tested, you have about 45 plus minutes, so make your way down there. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 135th House District, the Dean of this House, a friend to all of us, Dean Calvin Smyrie.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a joy for me to be able to bring our chaplain of the day, and I'm so delighted. I've known her all her life, and her mother and father, Reverend Rudolph Allen, her mother are dear friends of mine and were supporters of mine and when I ran for public office, and I've shared a friendship with the Allens ever since. Her church is in represent the Carolyn Hughley's district, so when I was talking about asking someone to come today, since it's Women's History Month, and recently Representative Valerie Allen Thompson was elected to serve on the General Missionary Convention of the state of Georgia as a regional vice president, thus making history in the state of Georgia, so I want to say that. She's the oldest daughter of 7 children and attended the University of Wisconsin, the Muscogee County School System, and Mercer University and International Denominational Theological Center here in Atlanta, Georgia. The founder and only pastor of 25-year-old Revelation Missionary Baptist Church, her father, Reverend Rudolph Allen, Sr., felt the urge to retire in December 2004, and she has brothers, but her father selected her, and she became pastor at that time, the only female Baptist minister in Columbus, Georgia. She has been an active person in our community. She has been on the board of various community organizations, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, and recently she was a former member of the Columbus City Council. when I called her and asked her what should I say about her, and she said, just say 3 words: I love the Lord. So with that, please welcome Reverend Valerie Allen Thompson, who will give our remarks and our inspirational comments today. Reverend Allen.
Good morning to Speaker Ralston, Dean Smyrie, and a special greeting to my district representative, Carolyn Hughley, and to all the members of the Columbus delegation. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. I know that we are still abiding by CDC guidelines. My family wanted to come, but they couldn't, but they are streaming. And I want to say to them, thank you so much for, they're probably smiling now, my Revelation family smiling now for acknowledging them this morning. When I was a child, when I was a kid, I used to pray every night for a bike. Then I learned that prayer doesn't work that way. So I decided to steal a bike and prayed for God's forgiveness. Prayer isn't just about asking God for things you need or desire. It's about establishing a relationship with Him built on faith and trust in Him. God knows the desires of our hearts long before you even think to ask, but He still loves to hear from us, whether we are asking for guidance or giving thanks, because what it does, it draws us closer to Him. One widely known prayer that is often set to music is the Lord's Prayer. However, there is another musical prayer that's not so widely known, and it is called Lift Every Voice and Sing, which we know it as the Negro National Anthem, written by James Weldon Johnson. In the 3rd stanza, he addressed his words to God. For this reason, the 3rd stanza constitutes a prayer of petition. And this is what it says. It says, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Then it says, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee, shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Like the Lord's Prayer, this is a good model for a praying people in the face of continuing injustice, in the face of this pandemic, in the face of unnecessary violence. It certainly serves as a model for what we have endured this year. The reason why this prayer is such a good model prayer, first, the focus of the writer's petition is upon God. Under such heavy affliction and terrible treatment, you would expect the focus of the prayer to be a litany of complaints about misery, about suffering, about injustice. But Johnson focused his prayer on the presence of the one who is able. It was not on how hard life was, but on how available God was and God is. Not on how weary the years were, but how sustaining the hand of God is. Yes, we have been through a lot, but we must continue to trust God. We have an insurance or a divine assignment from the one who does not grow weary. As a matter of fact, Isaiah 40:29 said, he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. We have the assurance of assistance of the one who can lead us in the right way, because he is the way and he is the best way. This model prayer conditions our soul for the Lord to order our steps. where love overcomes hatred, where God makes us secure at the deepest level, then whatever policies this nation develops towards us, we can forever stand true to our God. However much the shortcomings of this nation discourages us, the Lord will enable us to still stand true to the nation's noblest promise to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Whatever this nation's policies and attitudes, God will strengthen us to stand. That's why I like the verse in Ephesians 3:29 where it says, "Now unto him who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power that works in us." Will you bow your heads with me in prayer? Dear wise and loving Father, God, we thank you for your love, your kindness, and your tender mercy. God, we thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our calling. Father God, therefore I pray for every representative, for the Speaker of the House, for the various levels of officials, and particularly for this assembled body. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our time, that you would grant them a sense of the welfare and true needs of your people, that you would grant them a keen thirst for justice and rightness, and the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. Father God, give us an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved states, our cities, and our communities, and the world in which we live. It is in your most blessed name, the name of Jesus. Amen. Let us pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal of the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And furthermore, Mr. Speaker, Grandma loves the social distancing with friends, but has a problem with her enemy, needs to hug the enemy to know how deep and big to dig the hole in her backyard.
Is there any objection to the Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159th moves the following be established as the order of business in her first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 774 by Representative Moore of the 95th, Wilkerson of the 38th, McLaurin of the 51st, Dreyer of the 59th, Walensky the 79th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia Annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 775 by Representative Bentley of the 139th. Bill being titled an act to amend and act change the number of members of the Board of Education of Taylor County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 776 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, Jaspers of the 11th, Barr of the 103rd, Dollar of the 45th, and Stevens of the 164th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 46 and Article 6 of Chapter 13 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to Public Service Commission.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 777 by Representative Wilson of the 80th, Bennett of the 94th, Taylor of the 91st, Kendrick of the 93rd, Davis of the 87th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend and act creating a state court of DeKalb County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Resolution 406 by Representative LaHood of the 175th, Petrie of the 166th, Kirby of the 114th, Taylor of the 173rd, Gamble of the 15th. Resolution urging the Georgia Emergency Operations Plan to prioritize a continuum of long-term services and support systems.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
Senate Bill 294 by Senator Harrell of the 40th, a bill being entitled an act to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Chamblee.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 761 by Representative Carter of the 92nd, Kendrick of the 93rd, Davis of the 87th, Turner of the 85th, Taylor of the 91st, and others. A bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Lithonia. House Bill 762 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Thomas of the 65th, Evans of the 57th, Roberts of the 52nd, Moore of the 95th, and others. A bill to create the Fulton Technology and Energy Enhancement Authority. House Bill 763 by Representative Hill of the 3rd and Tarvin of the 2nd. A bill to amend an act creating the Office of Commissioner of Catoosa County. House Bill 764 by Representative Hill of the 3rd and Tarvin of the 2nd, a bill to authorize the City of Fort Oglethorpe to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 765 by Representative Hill of the 3rd and Tarvin of the 2nd, a bill to create the Catoosa County Public Facilities Authority. House Bill 766 by Representative Hill of the 3rd and Tarvin of the 2nd, a bill to authorize Catoosa County to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 767 by Representative Yerta of the 152nd, a bill to amend an act to authorize the Magistrate Court of Lee County to charge a law library fee. House Bill 768 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, a bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Royston. House Bill 770 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, a bill to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Magistrate Court of Gilmer County. House Bill 771 by Representative Thomas of the 39th, Wilkerson of the 38th, Allen of the 40th, Alnulowitz of the 42nd, Williams of the 37th, and others, a bill to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Austell. House Bill 772 by Representative Park of the 101st, Clark of the 108th, Kendrick of the 93rd, Marin of the 96th, McLeod of the 105th, and others, a bill to reconstitute and reestablish the Board of Registration and Elections for Gwinnett County. House Bill 773 by Representative Park of the 101st, Clark of the 108th, Kendrick of the 93rd, Marin of the 96th, McLeod of the 105th, and others, a bill to amend an act to provide for a Gwinnett County Board of Registrations and Elections. House Resolution 392 by Representative Singleton of the 71st, Kirby of the 114th, Williamson of the 115th, a resolution honoring the lives of MS Mark Allen and Sergeant Mike Stokely and dedicating a road in their memory. House Resolution 393 by Representative Smith of the 18th and Kelly of the 16th, resolution honoring the life of Mr. Bradley Scott Brad Vines, dedicating a road in his memory. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Timothy Barr, the 103rd District Chairman of the Committee on Code Revision, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Code Revision is under consideration the following bill of the Senate. This instructed me to report same back to the House following recommendations. Senate Bill 238 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Timothy Barr, the 103rd District Chairman. Representative Jan Tigers of the 160th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination and Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination and Locals had in consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 739 do pass by substitute. House Bill 740 do pass. House Bill 753 do pass. House Bill 754 do pass. House Bill 755 do pass. House Bill 756 do pass. House Bill 757 do pass. House Bill 759 do pass. House Bill 769 do pass. Senate Bill 280 do pass. Senate Bill 282 do pass. Senate Bill 283 do pass. House Bill 732 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Jan Tankersley, the 160th District, Chairman. Representative Chuck Upstration of the 104th District, Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Judiciary has had in consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 33 do pass. Senate Bill 86 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 200 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 218 do pass. Senate Bill 234 do pass. Senate Resolution 134 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Chuck Upstration of the 104th District, Chairman. Representative James Burchett of the 176th District, Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary Non-Civils had in consideration the following bill of the Senate. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House following recommendation. Senate Bill 105 do pass. Respectfully submitted, James Burchett of the 176th District, Chairman. Representative Rick Jaspers of the 11th District, Chairman of the Committee on Transportation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation sent in consideration the following resolutions of the Senate and has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Resolution 84 do pass by committee substitute. Senate Resolution 102 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Rick Jaspers of the 11th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
All right, we're going on now to the local calendar. Going on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. What purpose does Representative Meeks rise?
Mr. Speaker, I've moved that House Bill 755 and 756 be delayed to the next legislative day.
Clerk will read the captions.
House Bill 755 by Representative Meeks, the 178th, Pierce County. House Bill 755 abolishes the Pierce County Board of Elections and Registration. House Bill 756 by Representative Meeks, the 178th, Pierce County. House Bill 756 reconstitutes and reestablishes the Pierce County Board of Elections and Registration.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 755 and House Bill 756 be postponed to the next legislative day, is there any objection? Is there any objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Okay, now on to the local calendar minus those two bills. One bill on the local calendar relates to homestead exemption and requires a recorded 2/3 roll call vote for passage. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 739 by substitute by Representative Ralston of the 7th, City of Blue Ridge. House Bill 740 by Representative Benton of the 31st, Town of Pendergrass. House Bill 755 by Representative Smith of the 70th, Coweta County. House Bill 754 by Representative Benton of the 31st, City of Houston. House Bill 757 by Representative Wen of the 89th, City of Atlanta. House Bill 759 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Town of Thunderbolt. House Bill 769 by Representative Mathiak of the 73rd, Spalding County. Senate Bill 280 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, Lumpkin County. Senate Bill 282 by Senator Anderson of the 24th, Lincoln County. Senate Bill 283 by Senator Anderson of the 24th, Lincoln County. House Bill 732 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th, City of Atlanta.
count them present.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the ayes are 137, the nays are 11. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. All right, we're going on now to morning orders. We're going on to morning orders. If you have signed up for a morning order, then be prepared and be at the front of the chamber. A total of 10 minutes for all morning orders. Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Kelly, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm joined by Representative Smith. Because it's not often, Mr. Speaker, that we actually take the time to congratulate and to tell the staff that we work with how much we appreciate them and how proud of all the great work they accomplished. But I want to do that this morning. Tuesday night, Ryan Farmer, our House Policy Manager, put his name on the ballot like we have. And I'm proud to share with you that he won overwhelmingly in his election to the Haralson County Commission. So I would hope that everyone would join me in congratulating him for putting his name on the ballot and being successful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm receiving troubling reports from that county, though, that there could have been some election fraud and the election could have been stolen. I mean, is any merit to that?
I'll say, Mr. Speaker, I think the results speak for themselves, and he got, the only disappointing thing is he only got 91.7% of the vote instead of 92.
Well, okay. Chair recognizes Chairman Bonnie Rich for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In recognition of Women's History Month, I come before you today to honor Alice Harrell Strickland, Georgia's first woman mayor, and she was mayor of my very own Duluth. In 1915, Alice became a widow, leaving her with 2 of their 7 children still at home. She didn't have a college education or a career, but she didn't let that stop her from serving her community. Her interests ranged from healthcare to conservation. But her very biggest challenge came in 1921 when, at the age of 62, she ran for mayor of Duluth. Women had gained the right to vote only 1 year earlier, and she, a country girl from Duluth, actually came down here came to the Capitol actually, and lobbied for the right to vote. Alice was determined to clean up her town, which had become riddled with drunken brawls and knifings. She campaigned on the side of law and order in an openly hostile political climate. Imagine that. And she won the election by being, quote, considerate to petty offenders, but severe with those who willingly and flagrantly disregarded the rights of others. Alice cleaned up Duluth. Alice Strickland is a role model for women of all ages, backgrounds, and education, demonstrating that neither social status nor age can stand in the way of a woman of fierce determination and courage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lynn Smith for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. On March the 15th, Governor Kemp's office sent out an email announcing the 84 appointments to Georgia Regional Water Planning District. Looking to see if the map shows up. This announcement probably slipped by most of you because water issues are not on our radar. Believe me, they will be when there is a drought or a lawsuit from our neighboring states. Thank heavens the General Assembly hunkered down during the first decade of the 21st century to address these concerns. In 2001, the General Assembly created the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District, otherwise known as the Metro District. In 2008, the General Assembly created its efforts in this area, creating regional plans for the rest of the state. You can see the map up there now, and you can see the water basins, and then you can kind of pick out your area. If you'll take a moment to relate to where your district is and what is showing up there, I'm going to tell you now why that's so important. The Council's decisions determine the preferred water management practices for each regional water resource needs. I encourage you, when you are back home in your district, to take the time to learn about your regional water planning districts. This is not, again, on our radar, but when it is, it's one of the most overwhelming issues we have to deal with. So during this quiet time, please take the time to meet and learn about your Regional Water Council. Paraphrasing our founding father, Benjamin Franklin, we learn the worth of water when our well goes dry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Benton, Chairman England, Chairman Dickey, and Representative Gaines for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, last week Jackson County lost one of its most outstanding citizens. Mr. Haley Fleming was 94 when he passed away. Besides being a veteran and raising a family in Jackson County, he dedicated 37 years to the educational mission of helping students acquire the knowledge and life skills necessary to become productive citizens. He taught at Lula, Jefferson, Commerce, and Jackson County high schools during his career after receiving his bachelor's, his master's, and specialist degrees. The success of his former students was one of Mr. Fleming's greatest pleasures. His former students worked in varieties of agricultural careers. 5 of his students carried on his calling by becoming agricultural education teachers. Mr. Fleming set a standard of excellence for his FFA members that helped them bring home many awards. He had 76 students named state FFA winners. He coached 9 teams to national FFA competitions, also state competitions. His FFA chapters produced 7 state FFA officers, 4 FFA scholarship winners, countless Georgia Planter degree recipients, and 8 American Farmer degree winners. Jackson County felt close to Mr. Fleming and thought so much of him, we have endowed a Haley Fleming Agricultural Scholarship. Jackson County will truly miss him. He was truly an outstanding citizen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the way.
Chair recognizes Representative Carter for a morning order.
Good morning. Thank you, Speaker Ralston. In recognition of Women's History Month, we wanted to share with you some famous women who were born on March the 19th. You know Ruth Pointer from the Pointer Sisters, Moms Mabley from the Chitlin Circuit, Viola Davis from the Georgia General Assembly, hails from Texas, State Representative Donna McLeod, who hails from the, Jamaica, who serves in the Georgia General Assembly, and of course, yours truly, Doreen Carter, hails from the city of Atlanta, and we believe that we were destined to be here. The stars were aligned, and we believe that everyone born during this season of Pisces are awesome and powerful people. And Speaker Ralston, we include you too. He was born on March the 14th. Go ahead, baby.
And again, big up, it's Pisces season. To all the Pisces in the house, let's party!
Thank you. Speaker Ralston, we yield the word.
Chair recognizes Representative Byrd for a morning order.
Good morning. As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month and their achievements, I want to share Mamie Georges Williams' life, a politician from Georgia and served on the Republican National Committee. In 1924, Ms. Williams became the first woman from Georgia and first African-American woman to speak on the floor of the National Republican Convention. Mamie Williams was born in 1872 in Savannah, Georgia, to Reverend James and Sarah Miller. Ms. Williams was educated at the Beach Institute in Savannah and at the Atlanta University. After the 19th Amendment was passed granting women the right to vote, Williams took action and registered a large number of African American women to vote. During the 1920 presidential election, Williams was credited with turning out over 40,000 women for Georgia to vote. After her passing in 1951, the editor of the Savannah Times eulogized Williams by writing, "Mamie Williams was indeed a tireless fighter. She was a leader in the state, regional, and national women's clubs, fought for a Republican delegation representative of both black and white citizens of Georgia, and scored first visits."
The red light, remember
Oh,
me?
my time's over. All right. She did a great job for women. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the well.
Time for morning orders has expired for today. We're going on now to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 143.
Senate Bill 143 by Senator Tippins, the 37th, Dugan, the 30th, Gooch, the 51st, Miller, the 49th, Kennedy, the 18th, be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 8 of Chapter 14 and Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to mechanics and material men, so as to conform a reference within the statutory form regarding waiver of lien and labor or material bond rights. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Todd Jones to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, Senate Bill 143 is a simple but very important bill to the construction industry. Last year, the Senate and the House passed this language unanimously. We realize that we made one mistake. You will see that on line 72, and both Judiciary Committees passed it through this year unanimously. And so I ask for your favorable consideration, and I yield the well.
Gentleman had no questions. Is there any objection? I'm sorry, there is a, what purpose does Chairman Setzler rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry, Mr.
State your
Speaker.
inquiry.
I'd just like to ask the gentleman, isn't it true there may be some questions about the details of this bill? Would the gentleman answer, what does this bill do?
Well, I think that's the sort of parliamentary inquiry you need to go see him about. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 143. The ayes are 156, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 210.
Senate Bill 210 by Senator Robertson of the 29th Miller of the 49th Maine of the 54th Kirkpatrick of the 32nd Brass of the 28th. Be titled an act to amend Title 40 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia Annotated relating to motor vehicles and traffic so as to provide for definitions relative to registration and licensing of motor vehicles. This bill having referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Montahan to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members of the House, today I rise to present to you Senate Bill 210. Senate Bill 210 is some enabling legislation that allows Georgians to have a new and improved digital license plate. This new technology has been vetted by the Department of Revenue for 3 years. The pilot program is currently ongoing and successful and is waiting on the passage of this bill. This plate is hard to remove and uses bank-level 256-bit encryption. This bill is nearly identical to a bill this House passed out with a vote of 160 to 7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members, for your favorable consideration. Mr. Speaker, I yield for questions if there are any.
You do not have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Chairman Tankersley, I'll authorize you to vote Chairman Martin's machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 210. The ayes are 113, the nays are 47. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 169.
Senate Bill 169 by Senator Walker, the 20th Strickland of the 17th Butler of the 55th Miller of the 49th Parent of the 42nd and others. be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 10 and Title 13 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding contracts for public works. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, the committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Gunter to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 169 is an extension of Governor Kemp's executive orders and permanently codifies the acceptance of electronic signatures and corporate seals for surety bonds. Before the pandemic, surety bonds required a raised seal and handwritten signatures to be completed. Through Governor Kemp's executive order, the acceptance of electronic signatures and corporate seals has allowed for quicker transactions, sped up the process for all the parties involved, and modernized the way we do business in Georgia. If you're curious as to what a surety bond is, it's a three-party contract that where the surety guarantees the performance of the second party and guarantees it to a third party. So I'll take any questions.
Okay, you had no questions, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 169. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 34.
Senate Bill 34 by Senator Dixon, the 45th, Hatch to the 50th, Mullis the 53rd, Miller the 49th, Jackson the 2nd, and others, be titled an act to amend Chapter 12 of Title 19, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating the name change, so as to provide that victims of human trafficking may petition for a name change under seal. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Bonner to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I rise to present Senate Bill 34. It builds on the anti-human trafficking efforts of First Lady Marty Kemp through the Grace Commission, co-chaired by our own Speaker Pro Tem Jones. This bill is a continuation of the efforts of Chairwoman Mandy Ballinger and so many of others here in the chamber to this effort. SB 34 allows victims of human trafficking who are petitioning for a name change to do so without that petition being made public. We currently allow those that are victims of family violence to do the same. It's a simple bill, and with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to stand for any questions.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Cannon to your left for a question.
Thank you. Do you yield?
I do.
So to make this just a little bit more clear, does this mean that now there is not an ad that will be run in the local legal organ for that person's name change and protects their security and privacy?
That's correct. If there are no other questions, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the will.
There are no other questions.
Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 34. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 168.
Senate Bill 168 by Senator Walker, the 20th, Strickland, the 17th, Butler, the 55th, Miller, the 49th, Parent, the 42nd, and others, be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 7, Chapter 2, of Title 14 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to meetings, so as to provide that corporations may hold annual shareholders meetings and special shareholders meetings by means of remote communication. This bill having referred to the Committee on Banks and Banking, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes once again Representative Gunter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 168 is the same bill that we passed out of here, which was House Bill 306. It has a couple of changes, though, that I think are very good changes. One of them is on line 27, which changes the word solely to wholly. And then Section 4 was added in to make this approved on the signature of the governor. Some of the corporations in Georgia have their annual meetings prior to July 1, so this was to help them with that. And basically what this bill does is it's a virtual hearing or virtual shareholder meetings, which can be done wholly or partially. And that's basically what the bill does, and I would ask for your favorable consideration. I'll take any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 168. The ayes are 161, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 163.
Senate Bill 163 by Senator Strickland, the 17th, Kennedy, the 18th, Hatcher, the 50th, Jones, the 22nd, and Redder, the 33rd, to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 3 of Chapter 3 of Title 38 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to judicial emergencies, so as to provide for the suspension of statutory speedy trial requirements when compliance with such statutory speedy trial requirements becomes impracticable following a judicial emergency. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Gunter, might I inquire, how much more of the Gunter agenda is left after today?
I'm not real sure.
That's not real optimistic there.
There's still more out there.
Chair recognizes Representative Gunter to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we heard from Chief Justice Melton on Tuesday about the backlog that has accumulated in our superior and state courts due to the suspension of jury trials during the pandemic. He spoke about this bill specifically. Senate Bill 163 is legislation amending our code 38.3.161 and 38.3.162 to authorize the continued tolling of statutory speedy trial requirements following a judicial emergency. This bill does not impact constitutional speedy trial. That's still there, and you can find that on lines 134 to 135. The passage of this bill is both urgent and time-sensitive. The court supports this legislation because they foresee a systematic crisis on the horizon if they can't continue to toll these deadlines. This tolling would occur at the local level, not statewide, to provide a targeted approach. Current authority for a judicial emergency is 90 days, an initial 30 days, and plus 2 30-day extensions beyond that. Without this legislation, once the governor's declaration and the corresponding judicial emergency is lifted, if a defendant makes a proper speedy trial demand under 17-7-170 or 17-7-171 and is not tried within the applicable time frame, he or she shall be absolutely discharged and acquitted. As the Chief Justice said, we need to have a system that actually determines whether people who have been charged and indicted with a crime are guilty or innocent before allowing them to walk free. Despite the efforts of judges to keep their jail populations down, there is still a large number of inmates in jail waiting for their cases to be heard. That means far more cases awaiting trials, which will have to proceed much more slowly because of the safety precautions and physical distancing. Because so many of these cases are not yet indicted or charged due to the tolling deadlines, a statutory speedy trial demand cannot yet be made. The bill has a sunset of June 30th, 2023. It is targeted to help the courts get through this large backlog. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll open for any questions.
Do you yield for questions?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Chairman F. Strachan, to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Sir, isn't it true that this legislation is the top priority of the judiciary right now, as referenced by Chief Justice Melton in the State of the Judiciary speech this week and requested of the General Assembly by the Judicial Council?
That is correct.
All right, important bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you further yield?
I do.
Chair recognizes Representative Jasmine Clark to your left up in the gallery for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
So what happens to the defendants or the people who are requesting a speedy trial? How long might they be sitting in jail waiting for a trial under this bill?
The way it works is that the chief judge of the Superior Court of that county can ask for a suspension of the speedy trial statutes. The longest period, and that's based on the longest term of court in the state of Georgia, is 8 months. So it could be up to an 8-month period.
Does the gentleman further yield?
I do.
Is there any consideration for during this possible 8 months that a person who has not been convicted of anything, for them to be released from incarceration while they await their speedy trial? Or is it possible that people would be incarcerated for the entire 8 months prior to being convicted of anything?
It's possible both ways.
Thank you.
And that's because of the discretion of the judge in allowing a bond or not.
Thank you.
Do you further yield?
I'll take one more.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to your right for a question.
Will the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that our subcommittee on appropriations put extra money in there this year to bring senior court judges back to deal with this problem?
That is true, yes, sir. Thank you. I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Walensky rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that many have been sitting over this whole year not getting to go forward with their trials? And one of the most important things that this bill is recognized that the highest priority for these judges to recognize who's been sitting the longest?
I'm sure the gentleman knows that about which he speaks. What purpose does Representative Reeves rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that over the last year, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges have worked together in an unprecedented way to attempt to get as many people that are currently incarcerated awaiting trial a bond situation that they can make?
I'm sure the gentleman knows that to be true. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 163. The ayes are 157. The nays are 6. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 221.
Senate Bill 221 by Senator Mullis, the 53rd, Miller, the 49th, Dugan, the 30th, Gucci, the 51st, Kennedy, the 18th, and others. To be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to ethics in government so as to provide for definition, to provide for leadership committees, and to provide for chairpersons. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Kelly, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring before you today Senate Bill 221, LC 280192, and it does a simple thing. It creates 8 leadership committees that have the ability to raise funds like they currently can today, but allows them the opportunity to then coordinate with their respective candidates. Those 8 leadership committees are made up of first the governor, and then a nominee for a political party for governor, the lieutenant governor, and the nominee of another political party for lieutenant governor, the respective majority and minority caucuses in this House, and the respective majority and minority caucuses of the Senate. Currently, these committees exist and are able to raise funds, but when they go to expend those funds, they have to do it through an outside group if they want any direct coordination. This would eliminate that need. That's simply what it does. This bill is full of transparency and sunshine because as you see that once $500 is raised, then the funds will have to be disclosed in the same way our individual campaign committees are disclosed. Also, when funds are expended on this measure, they have to have a disclaimer saying that it comes from that leadership committee. Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to yield for some questions on this simple bill.
Do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce to your right for a question.
Will the gentleman yield?
I sure will.
Is the purpose of this to give the political parties the opportunity to spend more money directly on a candidate of their choice? Is that what you are suggesting?
No, the political parties as an organization already have this ability. What this does is seek to give our individual caucuses the ability to function like the parties do today. It will allow us, for the funds that we raise, to be directly spent without having to go through the party. And it is very clear that both sides of the political aisle get treated the same in this bill.
Will the gentleman further yield?
Sure.
So the intent is to have an unlimited amount of money to be able to be spent by the caucus on the candidates of their choice. Is that correct?
Currently, that can be done now. It has to flow through the political party to coordinate. So that's the only thing that this changes is a coordination. But I appreciate that question.
Do you further yield?
I will.
Chair recognizes the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Wilkerson, to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I'll be glad to.
I appreciate you bringing this bill forward to help everyone in this chamber.
I look forward to your yes vote.
Well, let me continue. you mentioned that it's going to be similar to what we do as a candidate. So does that mean there's going to be a prohibition on raising money during session?
Currently, as you know, our caucuses have different organizations that are not bound by that restriction. Only thing that changes in regards to our caucus activities is the ability to coordinate with our candidates. But the disclosure requirements for these will be exactly like we are individually.
Okay. Does the gentleman further? You have 2 more questions, and I'll be done.
I'll be glad to.
Thank you, sir. I'm looking at ethics.ga.gov, and I'll tell you, would this not expand the gap between, because I know that some caucuses have trusts and some do not. Some raise money during session, some do not. So is there any concern that this will just amplify what happens? Or would you make a commitment that every time a check is in the hallway that we would have a bipartisan nature and make sure that someone from both parties goes out and talks to lobbies to get that check from them?
I can't spend other people's money. This isn't Washington, the belief that they do up there. So I can't guarantee you that, but everybody will have the opportunity to.
Okay, so you have no concerns over money being spent during session while we're voting on legislation?
I think both caucuses, just like they do today, will still continue to have the opportunity to decide whether they raise those funds. We have the ability to do that today. This doesn't change that. The minority caucus can raise funds during session. The majority caucus can raise funds during session. I think both caucuses make very conscious decisions of how they handle that. I know at least we do. I hope y'all do as well.
Do you further yield?
I'll take one more, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House, Leader Burns, to your right for a question.
Gentleman yield.
I will.
Mr. Webb, is it not true, as I read the bill and per your statements, that this bill impacts both parties equally?
You're exactly right, Mr. Leader. That was a core piece of this, is making sure that we weren't tilting the balance in favor of any political party. We wanted this to be something that would be bipartisan in nature in terms of how the parties were affected, and hopefully, as a result, we'll have some bipartisan support.
Yield for another question?
I'll yield for another.
So you could say it's an equal opportunity bill?
I would agree with that, and I would also say, Mr. Leader, that's a very transparent bill because of the reporting requirements.
That would be my last question. If you'd yield for one more question, please.
One more.
Mr. Whip, would this language in this bill and this law not only require the full disclosure of all funds spent and received, giving full transparency, does not exist now?
That's exactly right, Mr. Leader. I appreciate those questions. We made great efforts here to make sure that the funds that were raised would be disclosed and the funds spent would be disclosed, as well as putting a disclaimer on the expenditures that mentioned that the leadership committee was responsible for that spending. So I appreciate that question.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Mr. Speaker, I know there's others signed up to speak, so for now I'll yield the well and maybe come back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Okay, we have a minority report. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. We will now go on to the minority report. By rule of the House, a total time of 20 minutes. Chair recognizes Representative Evans to speak to the minority report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 221. Our laws have long reflected a policy position against PACs coordinating with individual campaign committees. That's been a staple of our campaign finance laws for a long time, and I have a big problem with us so flippantly, with a switch, changing that long-standing public policy that we've all supported over the years. But I have a very practical reason for talking to you today about why I would suggest that you vote against this bill. Now, I'm a proud Democrat. Many of you in this chamber, you're proud Republicans. I agree with most of my party's positions and my leadership We normally are on the same page. But I also have an independent streak. And I know a lot of you in here do too. On the D side of the aisle and on the R side of the aisle. So I want to just have you think to yourself and perhaps ask yourself a rhetorical question. Do you really want to vote to give your caucus leadership, whoever they may be, now and in the future, more power over your fate, to allow them to use unlimited campaign contributions and coordinate with your opponents if they think you're getting out of line? Not only to do it, but to threaten it, to hold that over your head in a way that they can't right now. Do you really want to vote to give away your own power? I leave you with that, and I yield remaining time on the minority report to Representative Walensky.
Chair recognizes Representative Walensky to speak to the minority report.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you all here today. So I've been down at the Capitol since 2010. I came down here helping out one of the groups, and I spent a lot of time in the Judiciary Committee watching. Chairman Wendell Willard was there at the time. And I've been here a while, and I was elected first in 2018, and one of the proudest things I have always had is that we are not like Congress. We're not like the federal government. Everybody always asks me, what's the difference between Georgia and the federal government? And I would say there's two main things. One is, as we know, 95% of the time, hopefully 98% of the time, we all agree. We're working to make our state better. We are working together. We get along. We hang out with each other. I'm very proud of that. The other thing I've always been proud to say is that the money, there's a big difference in how money is used, how money is applied, and there are barriers in place to keep our campaigns and everything involved safe. This bill will make it more expansive on how money can be used. As Representative Evans just said, this will allow a leadership committee to directly coordinate with a large amount of money. And as we know, we've heard from both parties on the federal elections in Georgia, there's been so much money raised, it's been a major concern. And I'll ask a similar question and just ask, do we want to make it more expansive and bring more money into Georgia politics? Because I know that I have been here helping and now as state rep for almost 10 years, and I've always been proud to say that we are different, that we have elections where people work hard and people represent their constituents and they speak for their constituents because the constituents elected them, not because their leadership. Hi, Representative. I've always been proud to say I've always never seen that in 10 years. I've always been proud to say that the money is different here, that there are barriers in place so our constituents elect us, not that a leadership team or others appointed who was elected. And when I go back to my constituents, I'll be able to say that I stood up and made sure money is still being used in Georgia, and I asked for a no vote, and I relinquish the rest of my time to Representative Wilson. Thank you, Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Wilson for the balance of the minority report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate my colleagues. Why are we here? As we get later and later in session, I'm sure it's a question on a lot of our minds. Why are we here? And I would venture that for almost all of us, the answer would be public service, to serve the public. But who is the public? Who is your public? The only purpose that this bill serves is to funnel more money into our politics. That's all it does. And fundamentally, I believe, and I think most of you believe, we need fewer ways to get money into politics, not more. This bill should be called the Gold Dome Swamp Bill, because that's what it does. The majority leader referred to this as an equal opportunity bill. And he's right, it is an equal opportunity bill, an equal opportunity at corruption, an equal opportunity at tilting the scales. This would only make it harder for us to serve the people of this state. Money always finds a way into every nook and cranny that we allow it to. And it keeps us from putting the interests of our citizens first. It can incentivize, for instance, passage of liability shields for businesses instead of protections for workers. There are no limits on the amount of money that donors can give to these committees. So this bill would create even more incentives for special interest to donate unlimited funds during session. Let me say that again. During legislative session. It gets us closer to that quid pro quo that our laws today acknowledge we need to be wary of. We need to prevent. This is a very way to get around public corruption. Not only would we have coordination between these leadership committees and individual campaigns, but there would be coordination between the committees and the well-moneyed interests in the hall. Just think about this. Financial incentives from the leadership of these funds, potentially for individual legislative actions taken by members. Just think about that. This is the wrong direction. And if I'm being truly honest, it's very telling to me that we're headed down this path of adding more unlimited amounts of money in politics and decreasing the transparency over it at the same time that we're making it harder for Georgians to vote. We're raising barriers to ballot access for folks working long hours, 6 or 7 days a week, while creating yet another way for well-moneyed interests to influence our elections and influence our legislative process. This bill has our priorities completely out of order, and I would urge you to reject the Gold Dome Swamp Bill. Mr. Speaker, I'll leave you with this, and my colleagues. I can assure you that every one of our constituents are watching us this session. The stakes are very, very high. And they're watching this bill too. This bill will show them where our priorities lie, where your priorities lie. With them or with the protection of your seat? With them or with the well-moneyed interest in the hallway? I would urge you to make your choice accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. The chair of the committee has asked for the chairman's time, which is also 20 minutes. Chair recognizes Chairman F. Stration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the chairman's time to the Majority Whip, Representative Kelly.
Majority Whip Kelly is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to be brief here because we heard a lot of talk about what the bill doesn't do. I'm just going to, again, be very clear here. This bill will take money that currently is being spent in dark money packs, and it'll bring sunshine onto that. It will make clear the donors that are coming from New York and California, that has to be shown now. What we're looking for here, Mr. Speaker, is just an effort for transparency and the ability to coordinate for our caucuses. But no one's being forced to do this. And so I would ask my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, if you don't want to support it today, I hope that you'll make the decision to be principled in your opposition and just not establish one, because this isn't mandatory. This is selective. And so if you're going to be as critical today, I hope you'll be as mindful when you have the opportunity to do that. And Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 221 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. What purpose does the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Wilkerson, rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
I will gladly make that commitment to my friend, the fellow whip, if he returns that money to D.C. that they just sent us this week, the $1,400 plus all the child care tax credits the Republicans all voted against. So I will make that commitment if he writes a check for the same thing.
What purpose does Chairman Houston rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
But can we do tax cuts now? What's the ruling on tax cuts?
I think that may have to be decided by a court somewhere.
All right, thank you, because I don't think that, is it not true in the new COVID bill that they said something about us not doing tax cuts to states? Thank you.
What purpose does Chairman Burchett rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that currently there are no prohibitions whatsoever for any PAC in the state of Georgia to raise money at any time or at any amount?
I believe that is correct. All right, we're going to do one more parliamentary inquiry, and then we're going to close it out. What purpose does Chairman Oliver rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State your
Speaker.
inquiry.
Isn't it true, sir, that in the early part of our careers, in a very brief period of time, there was legislative effort to reduce the amount of money in politics? And the recent two-thirds of our career, every single step has been to increase the amount of money that comes into politics.
Well, I know that a lot of money got spent here in Georgia last year. I don't know who spent it or where it came from. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 221, the ayes are 96, the nays are 69. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 66.
Senate Bill 66 by Senator Anna DeVarte to the 31st, Payne to the 54th, Mullis to the 53rd, Cowser to the 46th, Strickland to the 17th, and others. Be entitled an act to amend Title 20 and Title 4080 of the Fiscal of Georgia and Tennessee relating to education and revenue and taxation respectively, so as to authorize a nonprofit corporation incorporated by the Georgia Foundation for Public Education to receive private donations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Gamble to present the bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise today to present to you Senate Bill 66. And basically what this bill does is it merges two existing foundations. Senate Bill 66 merges the Georgia Foundation for Public Education and the Innovation Fund Foundation. The Georgia Foundation for Public Education was created in 2010, and a 501c3 arm was attached in 2019. It has a mission to support our public schools in a broad way by raising philanthropic money. The Innovation Fund Foundation was created in 2013 as a 501c3 to raise money and award grants to schools and partners for innovative programs. A 100% state tax credit was added in 2017 that the Innovation Fund Foundation would manage. This was the brainchild of former House Education Committee Chairman Representative Brooks Coleman. Many of you will remember his passion for this issue. So in summary, all this bill does is merge these two foundations, supported by both foundations and the Department of Education, so that they can maximize their ability to support our public schools. With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for this body's favorable consideration. I'm happy to yield for any questions.
Do you yield for one question?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the Chairman of the Education Committee, Chairman Dubnik, to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Representative, is it not true that this simply combines two nonprofits into one to allow for greater efficiency and effectiveness?
You are correct. That's what this bill will accomplish.
And just to confirm, isn't it true that this does not impact the tax credit? This does not impact the limit that can be used to support public education, nor does this in any way limit the grants that could go to innovation?
That is correct. Everything will be the same as far as the fundamentals of both of these foundations. They will just exist together, and it will allow them to have better synergy to raise money for our public schools. I appreciate your question. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 66. The ayes are 159, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 148.
Senate Bill 148 by Senator Hufstetler, the 52nd, Miller, the 49th, Butler, the 55th, Dugan, the 30th, Parent of the 42nd, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 28 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating the General Assembly so as to create the 2021 Special Council on Tax Reform and Fairness for Georgians and Special Joint Committee on Georgia Revenue Structure. This bill having referred to the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hawkins to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring to you Senate Bill 148 today. This bill, I've heard quite a bit of comment from my colleagues, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your speaking to me about this bill, but in my heart, I feel like this is a good bill. This does reestablish once again, from what we did in 2017, a special council on tax reform and fairness for Georgians, and then also a special joint committee for Georgia's revenue structure. It's the special counsel that provides a study and their council made up of experts in the economy, in business, also includes the Commissioner of Economic Development. This group comes up with the suggestions and ideas that are passed on to the special council made up solely of legislators who will then move legislation forward to this House, being taxation bills, and our Speaker appointing these bills in a timely manner. You know, when this legislation actually occurred in 2017, and what we got out of that legislation was the reduction or removal of energy tax on manufacturing, changes in our auto tax, changes in the transportation fuel tax, and it created ag exemptions. The benefits of these proposals were felt throughout this state, from cities to our rural areas. So that's what this bill does. And Mr. Speaker, due to the late time, I think I'll take no questions.
Gentleman has yielded the will. Chair recognizes the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Wilkerson, to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll also be brief. But I think it's a great idea to update the Tax Reform Council. My only concern is that as I look through lines 55 through 66, I don't see a CPA on here. I don't know how you do tax reform without having a certified public accountant on it. Anybody that talks taxes probably does not talk to their economist about it. They probably talk to an accountant. And so I would recommend that it's a good bill. I would ask that we vote it down, send it back, and then add in there a certified public accountant or two to make sure that we actually know what we're doing when it comes to tax reform. And I'll yield to any questions.
You yield for a question?
I do.
Chair recognizes Leader Beverly, Minority Leader Beverly, for a question to your left.
The gentleman yield.
I do.
The author of the bill, I know he left the well pretty quickly without answering this question. Maybe you can help me out with line 58 and 59. What is a nonpartisan fiscal expert?
As a CPA, I have no idea what a nonpartisan fiscal expert is. I guess when I talk to my exterminator, he thinks he's an expert, but I have no idea. The Senate does things sometimes and we don't know what they're doing, but I'm not sure.
Could that be someone who just balances their checkbook? Could that,
For half of Americans, as you remember, we actually are doing a class on balancing checkbooks, et cetera, because people don't do it. So yes, I would consider that a fiscal expert.
Thank you, Mr. Whip.
I will, if there's no more questions, I would yield the well.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, for that question. I was wondering what that was too.
Yeah, and like I said, I ask that you vote this down, we reconsider it, we send it back to rules, and put a CPA, which I do know what that is, on there, and move this back to the Senate. But thank you. I yield the well.
All right. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. What purpose does Representative Ridley rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, in my opinion, that this is a backdoor way to do tax increases by using this council?
I'm not sure I can say no to that.
Thanks, sir.
What purpose does Representative Carpenter rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true it would be extremely rare for a tax council to suggest lowering taxes?
I will adopt my same answer. What purpose does Representative Dukes rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is there any specific reason why that there was outlined in this bill that there was no one from rural Georgia even considered as an ex-official member?
You would need to go across the hall and ask the author, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, we're going to do a couple of more and then we're going to vote it. What purpose does Chairman Martin rise?
Parliamentary Inquiry, Mr.
State
Speaker.
your inquiry.
Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that that tax that was mentioned on energy was done by former member of this House, Jeff Lewis, and he's been gone 12 years, so it was done long before 2017. Isn't that true?
Actually, I think that was done in the bill that we did the last tax thing, 2013 or so, by Governor Deal.
Yes, sir. The only reason I mention that, isn't it true, Mr. Speaker? The reason I mention that is didn't want anybody to think that that commission necessarily brought back a tax decrease.
That they did not bring one back. All right. What purpose does Chairman Houston rise? She waves. All right. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 148. The ayes are 20. The nays are 139. This bill, having failed to receive the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore failed. Okay. The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Honoring the life and memory of Emery West Donahue Sr. Honoring the life and memory of Reverend Bryant Warnell Raines. Honoring the life and memory of Don Stevens. Honoring the life and memory of Dinah Catherine Culberth Wayne. Honoring the 135th anniversary of Ebenezer Baptist Church, commending and congratulating Prema Seraphin upon the grand occasion of her 90th birthday. Commending and congratulating James Richardson Sr. Recognizing March 11th, 2021 as the 10-year anniversary of the devastating earthquake in Great East of Japan. Congratulating and commending Foster Brady Farms. Recognizing and commending Consuelo Peak for her outstanding work as a speaker, advocate, and businesswoman. Congratulating the Camden County High School wrestling team. Commending the Carrollton High School debate team on their state championship win. And recognizing and commending Montlick and Associates, and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. All right, if you signed up for an announcement, make your way to the front of the chamber. And while we're doing that, we've got several birthdays coming up. Please help me wish a happy birthday today to Chairman Ed Setzler. Chairman Setzler. And on Friday, wish a happy birthday to Representative Doreen Carter. To Representative Donna McLeod. And Representative Viola Davis. Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know many of you are going to be here early Monday morning for some committees. So the Georgia Cattlemen Association is going to have you a steak biscuit Monday morning from 7:30 to 9 out in the Mitchell Street between CLOB and Capitol. So I hope you'll stop by. I know Chairman England have to come back outside. He'll be here a lot sooner than 7:30 and come get his biscuit. But Monday morning, thank you.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Minority Caucus, Chairman Mitchell, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be lunch provided to the Minority Party in room 216 immediately upon adjournment. Look to see you there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Mathiak for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. State Planning and Community Affairs will have a short meeting today at 3:30, 606 CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Ballinger for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a Juvenile Justice Committee meeting. We'll be meeting today at 1 in room 403. There's also a Zoom option for those of you who prefer that. But look forward to seeing you at 1 in room 403. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Buckner for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Working families will be meeting today. Your lunches will be in room 310 of CLOB, and we'll, of course, have our meeting by Zoom. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Holland for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The City of Atlanta delegation will meet tomorrow, Friday at noon via Zoom. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dollar for an announcement.
Thank you, Speaker. The House Creative Arts and Entertainment Committee will meet today, 2 o'clock, over in 506. We have one bill on the agenda, and we'll be getting another update from industry experts. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Collins for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, Subcommittee A, will meet at 1:30 in room 415 CLOB. Thank you very much.
That completes the announcements. The chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 1 p.m. Monday, March the 22nd, 2021.
Majority Leader has moved that this House be adjourned until Monday, March 22 at 1 p.m. Before I call for the vote, let me remind you that Monday is a testing day. We will be testing from 7 until 11. So be sure and get your test. And again, we're encouraging committees to meet very aggressively Monday morning and later in the day if you choose. Okay, the motion was that this House adjourn until Monday, March 22 at 1 p.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. This House will be adjourned until Monday, March 22 at 1 p.m.